Hello, everybody. Welcome to the transfer window show, where we've got a lot to talk about today in terms of latest deals and speculated deals affecting Premier League teams this transfer window. My name is James, and I'm delighted to be joined again by Clayton. How are you, mate?
Doing good. All good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Probably not a lot of Tottenham on this one, actually, which makes a nice little change. But I can assure everyone we are trying to buy a centre back. One team that definitely is buying a centre back is Manchester City. Look like they've got the here we go, Josko Gvardiol. I sent two words to you which said Josko Gvardiol, and Clayton sent me back a little crying emoji.
Yeah,
Why are you
what a
crying
signing
about it,
that.
mate?
He's a player, isn't he?
Isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I think because we spoke about that on Monday, didn't we? And I was saying I think that might happen, and then we were saying the rumor on the street is it's gone quiet, and then bang, it's happened. And he's just such a good player. I think you guys were linked with him like a year,
A
18 months
couple of
ago.
years ago, yeah.
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 Yeah, he's just if there's one centre back you could think of in world football that's just gonna slot into that team, it's him. His ability on the ball, the way he progresses it, he can step into midfield. Yeah, the crying emoji was exactly that because you're looking at the City team and you're seeing like they are kind of trying to rejuvenate things, right? They got rid of three, four senior pros now, but their recruitment is spot on, and this is why I was hesitant to kind of make any assessments on them yet. But what a signing that is!
Well, I think they've gone and got the best centre back that they could have got, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah,
He's a very good defender as well. I mean, he was arguably, I know he got turned inside out by Messi.
that was messy, right?
He's not the first and he won't be the last, but he was arguably otherwise best defender at the World Cup. So
Agreed.
that's a top signing. I think he'll be a regular first choice for Manchester City. Um, I've not heard rumours on the fee as yet, but I imagine it's pretty substantial. Will
I
probably
saw
be.
rumored 100 million euros.
Oh wow, that's big.
Rumored. So whether that's official, God knows.
I've not seen anything on the fee, but I know when we were interested, we were getting quoted about 80 million.
Wow, wow. And
His
that was
contract was
back then.
probably, yeah, but his contract's probably less at this stage as well now. But
How old
I
is
sh
he? 21, right?
no, he's a bit
No?
older, isn't he?
Okay. I
I
don't know.
think
I'm
so.
not.
I feel the need to actually check that now. But he's a top centre back. That obviously is going to have an impact on City's other defensive players in the sense that I wouldn't say walk in that team, but you'd think now that certainly John Stones moving into midfield and Gvardiol will be two of the first choice, becomes very competitive for the others. There is some speculation that might mean that Cole Walker is on his way. You were right about Gvardiol. He's only 21.
Oh, he's 20 years,
What
21.
a
That's
top
mental,
talent.
isn't it?
Yeah. Turned 21 in January. Some speculation Cole Walker might move on. There's rumours of a potential deal in place for Bayern Munich. Well, they've got a deal with Harry Kane as well. I suppose it depends if they've got money or not. Do you see Walker moving on? It feels like City might be losing a few players. There's another one we're going to come on to in a minute. And it feels like keeping Walker around, even if he's not going to be first choice, particularly for some of them bigger games and his recovery pace, would still be sensible, I think, for City.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. If he moves on, I think they'll go and get someone else in, like they've been linked with Pavard. But like you say, if
Yeah.
they keep him around, that's not going to be a bad thing at all. He's still at a good level, even if it's not playing week in, week out. Like you say, in the big games, he's got uses in game states, right? And it's funny because I first saw him linked with Sheffield United, and then I saw the Bayern links after. So obviously there was the whole thing about going back home and stuff. But yeah, I think that's quietened down a bit. How serious the links are to Bayern, I don't actually know. Just kind of seen the same tweets recycled and stuff. But it's one of those, whether he goes or stays, I think they're so well run, City, they'll either get a good replacement in or they'll use him effectively should he stay around.
The Sheffield United links will come about again. He's always said he wants to go back to Sheffield United at some stage in his career. I'm sure he will end up going there at some point, but not now, I don't think. One player looks like definitely leaving City. It looks like it's here we go for Riyad Mahrez, the latest export to Saudi Arabia. Reported
Which
sort of
team's he gone to?
it's Al Ahly, reported 40 million or so, which I think is a great deal for City.
Yeah,
It's
I think.
32.
Yeah, I mean, what a player though, isn't he?
Oh yeah, no one's saying he's past it or anything like that.
No,
Not at all. But comparing with say them going Jordan Henderson and people saying, "Oh, Liverpool doing well to get sort of 10 to 12 million or so," that for Mahrez at his age,
Yeah,
He's great. You're probably not getting that from another Premier League team, I think, at this stage,
not at
despite
that
his
age.
obvious quality, just because there's no resale value on it. So it'll be a miss for City, though. Admittedly, didn't play in the FA Cup final or the Champions League final. Certainly a key component in Champions League games, particularly for City in the previous couple of years. I don't know if that might have been him realising that he's no longer first choice in Guardiola's eyes and decided it's time to move.
Yeah, I don't know how much of this is the player or the manager. I feel like, do you remember one of the narratives I kind of joked about with you off air, like previously about City next year is the psychology lens on things, and it's like how do you then go up another level once you've won the treble? And I think this is what
You
Pep
got
is.
re-energized, yeah.
That's exactly what I think he's doing. Yeah, I think he's consciously trying to churn three, four players in, get that new blood in, and yeah, re-energize. So it's just annoying. They're so well run. But yeah, what a player! I think he's one of the best Premier League wingers I've seen in my lifetime. I'm 28 years old. He's an absolute joke. And yeah, the team he's gone to. Do you know what other players are there?
Oh, I want to say that's maybe Edward Mendy and Roberto
Okay,
Firmino's,
yeah, I get
maybe.
confused with all of them.
Don't quote me on that. Saudi Arabia
Yeah.
week was last week, mate. But yeah, look, he's been an outstanding Premier League winger. Obviously, was part of the Leicester title winning
He
team,
was a
one player
joke
of the
that
year
season.
that year. FPL managers will have fond memories of that 5.5 million starting price. I know my wife started with him that season.
Wow.
I don't think he ever left. She just liked the name or something, right? Mahrez. Oh, that is good. Yeah, I'll stick him in. Okay, babe. There is some speculation that City will obviously go and replace. Now, within, obviously, they could use Bernardo Silva out there. They can use Phil Foden out there. There are obviously alternatives to what they can do. Rafinha is a name that's been mentioned over the last couple of days, but I suspect he's apparently on about 250 grand a week at Barcelona.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I see him as more chaos, Rafinha.
Same.
Will really
Control.
hold that touchline and stuff, and that's really important for Guardiola. So I almost feel like they'll be looking for, and there's certainly comparisons with the left-footed, the technical abilities between a Rafinha and Mahrez, but I think Guardiola will probably be looking for someone who's a little bit more positionally structured and less free, if you think. Rafinha is like a
Yeah,
free spirit that you don't
he
really
is.
want
Yeah.
to, and I just don't see City going in and getting him off them wages. And I think Rafinha is pretty determined to make it work at Barcelona as well. So I don't see that one, but we should always be aware before people, oh, is it Foden on the right or Bernardo Silva on the right? Yeah, don't be surprised if they go into the market and add.
Do you think those elements of Rafinha's game could be coached though? Do you think?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
Yeah. And he's still young as well, right?
yeah.
It's probably more the wage side of it as well.
Do you think he'd take a
I think
wage cut?
City are very conscious of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe only if Barcelona pushed it out the door, maybe. It's
Because
worth
you
saying as well, obviously, Barca have a long-standing interest in Bernardo Silva as well. So
true.
I can certainly see where the speculation comes into play there. But as it stands now, you'd have to assume that Bernardo Silva would stay, I think. And it's probably the most likely as it would stand to fill that position on the right-hand side, I think.
Yeah. I'd agree. Yeah, I think I'd agree.
Another player who might be off to Saudi Arabia, sounds like he wants to be off to Saudi Arabia, is Aleksander Mitrovic.
Do you
Big
see
news.
his? Oh, go on.
Go on.
Do you see his tantrum after what Fulham valued him at?
So the word on the street over the last 24 hours, which a few, I know certainly Sky Sports News have picked it up, is Fulham supposedly have said about £52 million is your player if you want.
Which I think is completely fair.
He's supposedly lost his rag. I absolutely agree. He's got 3 years left on his contract, by the way. So
and he's a good player.
it's the old case I always say, right? You sell that player, you have to ask, are Fulham gonna be able to replace him with £50 million? Possibly, yes.
If
but
they're clever, yeah. But
that's why the valuation of the player is there, right? I'm not going to sell for 25 million because that then it's really tough
exactly
to try and replace the player. We're not suggesting Fulham would go and pay £50 million for a player in any case. But yeah, Fulham have rightly got a valuation on the player with 3 years left on his contract. They're under absolutely zero pressure to sell. His head's been turned, supposedly to the extent that he's told relatives that he'll never play for Fulham again and had to be convinced by people, including the PFA, the Professional Football Association, to actually go on Fulham's tour.
I find that so disrespectful. Like you're
Now,
literally under contract at this club.
we're not in the situation, because so we can't say that that's 100% true,
True.
but also there have been no denials about it at this stage as well. So no smoke without fire in most cases.
Yeah.
But one of the problems, obviously, if you've got a player like that, and he's obviously their key player, how do you get him back involved?
Mm,
And if you're a Fulham fan, do you want him back involved if he's with, doing things like that?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I was a Fulham fan, I wouldn't like it, but I don't know. When you've got a player of that quality, I do think these things, like obviously we've seen it with like Granit Xhaka at Arsenal, right? Like there is always a redemption that can happen, but that it's just not a great look at all. I think that's so working on the assumption that that's true. I think that's so disrespectful, and I think Fulham are well within their rights. I think, yeah, I think he's forgotten they literally employ him. So, and I think 52 million is a very fair valuation. It's interesting though, the team that I forgot the team name that are after him, but I had a look at their team, and that's where Koulibaly is. Their midfield is Neves. I didn't realize that Milinkovic Savic is there. Carrillo, like it's a decent midfield supplying him. They've got
Interesting.
Pereira.
They're the ones who have bought arguably the kind of top players now in terms of their age profile, who have still got room for improvement. I guess Mitrovic falls into that category as well, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize. Do you remember Mateus Pereira? He's there as well, but he's gone on
Oh, from
loan
West
and he's
Brom, yeah.
been unregistered with them or something. So, but yeah, interesting one to watch that. It'd be interesting to see both cases. One, if he stays, like you say, how they reintegrate him, but B, if he does go, how they actually invest that money and who they look to get in to
Yeah,
replace him.
one of the good things is, and I love the way the FPL community reacts. Is like last night, I see a few people going, "Oh, yeah, Vinicius
Vinicius.
straight in my team and stuff." What are they going to do? Sell him for 50 million and not do anything about it? Like they'll
Exactly.
probably go and get someone else. One player they have been strongly linked with is Calvin Bassey, who went to Ajax from Rangers last summer. You might remember Bassey was outstanding in the Rangers team that got to the Europa League final,
Yeah.
but apparently available for transfer for around about £15 million. Fulham might be losing Tosin Adarabioyo, it's being speculated. So Bassey, the potential replacement at 15 million, that's where some of the money likely to go. Have you seen a lot of Bassey?
Not seen, but my lazy analysis that I like to tend to work with is Brighton were linked with him once, and they do things the right way, so he must be good. But I've read a lot about him, like yeah, in the Athletic and stuff, and especially back when Brighton were actually linked with him, they were looking to kind of eye him up for Colwell's replacement and stuff. And yeah, he sounds like a really promising player, but I can't confess to have seen him a
Yeah,
lot myself.
the only time I seen him, honestly, was that Europa League final against Eintracht Frankfurt. It was probably man of the match.
Yeah.
So yeah, very good talent. That's probably money wise, probably a sensible sort of transfer,
Very.
sort of thing that Fulham should be looking for at the moment. And that will leave them 30 million plus to go and get Mitrovic's replacement. I wouldn't be surprised he ends up staying Mitrovic, by the way.
Yeah, I
Just sit
think
him
I'm
down
leaning
and
the same
go,
way.
stop, mate.
Yeah.
Because
How old's he?
the opportunity will come again as well, right?
Yeah, true.
Mitrovic,
He's pushing 30, I want to
late
say.
20s, maybe. I'm not sure, to be honest. I feel like I should have been prepared for this and gone,
Yeah, so
hey,
I've put you on
let's.
the spot with so many things.
Yeah, thanks, Clayton. You can Google it this time while I talk about another player who could, well, another couple of players who could be going to Saudi Arabia. Jordan Henderson has caused a lot of anger and disappointment with a lot of people, but it does look like he's approaching a move to Al Ettifaq, which is Stephen
Nailed it.
Gerrard's team. That's not one of the public investment fund owns teams. It looks like they have come up with the transfer fee that Liverpool want in. He didn't go to Liverpool's pre-season game yesterday. He does look like that move's going to happen.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
It's a sticky one, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the Rainbow Laces campaign, what he's publicly stood for and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's not a great look, is it? No beating around the bush.
No, a
Not
lot of
really.
people are highlighting notes he'd made in a program where
Okay.
said about standing with people who are discriminated against. I can understand a lot of the disappointment. I also understand the financial implications to him and his family, and we don't have an understanding of his financial circumstances. And if there's a greater need than maybe it looks to on the eye, it's a disappointing one, I think, though. And it's obviously the first English player
Yeah.
that's going to do it. You know what I'd love? Gareth Southgate just went, "Thank you for the memories, mate. See you later."
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Southgate. Just go,
Yeah.
because Southgate's so principled. I doubt it, by the way, because Henderson has got great leadership qualities, and Liverpool will certainly miss those leadership qualities. By the way, we've lost James Milner, losing Henderson as
Yeah.
well.
That's two
That's
big
one of the
characters in the
big
dressing room.
question marks about Liverpool. Is okay, who's gonna step up in the
Yeah.
role? I would guess Van Dijk will take over the captaincy, probably, but he always looks like he's in a mood, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. No, but yeah, no one doubts his leadership qualities and stuff, to be fair. But yeah, I don't know who else. I mean, McAllister and Zoboslai. Was that correct? Zoboslai?
Szoboszlai, yeah, decent, mate.
Yeah, I don't know
Sudge will never get there.
I don't know what their kind of leadership characteristics are like. I know how good they are as
They're not
footballers,
going to walk
but
into Liverpool and take the armband, mate.
no. So yeah, it's one to watch. I think it's definitely a big factor that I think people tend to kind of overlook when you're churning a squad and stuff. So
Yeah, Liverpool particularly missed Henderson at points when he didn't play. We've seen that over the years where they've missed something on pitch when it's not been going right. We think Fabinho might be going there as well. Liverpool looking for around about 40 million. I suggested last week. I think if that's on the table, if Fabinho has truly regressed and hasn't been carrying an injury, then I think yes, take it. But it certainly leaves a hole in the midfield area. Romeo Lavia has been strongly linked. There's been some murmurings over the last 48 hours or so about Boubacar Kamara, Aston Villa, and Cheikh Doucouré of Crystal Palace,
seen the Doucouré
which
one,
I know
yeah.
has got our new Palace correspondent Rory a little bit concerned. Actually, doesn't want to lose Doucouré, but they've also got a similar profile player in Jefferson Lerma, so
Yeah.
could maybe see that whether Doucouré's ready for that step up. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I like what I saw of him last year. It probably needs something more like that than Lavia, who is an immense talent, but that's a lot of pressure to go into Liverpool and play regularly.
And that's the thing I'm kind of looking at. I think for where Liverpool aspire to be, I don't think, excuse me, I don't think the sixth position is something in there where they are right now, you give to a project player. I think that's something you have to go and invest in and have someone that's ready-made can come settle in yesterday. And also those leadership qualities like Lavia, Doucouré, Kamara, are they people that are going to come in, hit the ground running? Like, no doubting the talent's there, but are they going to command that authority in midfield and the off the field stuff as well? I'm not so sure. And I think that's where Liverpool need to be to get back to where they kind of aspire to be, in my opinion.
I didn't watch the game yesterday, but supposedly Trent just played in central midfield.
Yeah, I've seen conflicting reports on like where he played, so I'm not too sure who to believe.
Okay, I'll skip
Like,
that.
as in, no,
I've not seen anything in my eyes
was
to
6
quote on
or
it.
8.
So
Yeah,
but I know that a few of the guys were saying this is just central midfield. So
interesting.
could he play the sixth role, do you think?
No, I think people get too obsessed with the on the ball stuff that they completely neglect how important the off the ball stuff is in that 6 role, in my opinion.
But as long as he stays with the game in front of him and shields.
I don't think he's great at anticipating and intercepting where the ball's going to be.
I would definitely agree. Anticipation would have to massively improve. I agree with that. Newcastle United now, there's one in, one out on the left wing position. So
yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Saint-Maximin also looks like he's going to Saudi Arabia. It's getting a bit repetitive, this, isn't it? But we're probably not surprised about that. And we should also point out before anyone goes, oh, public investment fund buying players from Newcastle. They are buying players from everyone, like quite clearly at the moment. Although I did like the all haggling over the fee. I found was quite amusing. Like,
I've not seen that.
How deep are those? Newcastle want this much, and they're only prepared to pay this much. Same guys, like, get on with it. That transfer wouldn't be allowed, by the way, under UEFA laws if they were a European nation. It wouldn't go through now under new laws. Yeah. But Saint-Maximin's almost definitely heading out there, and Harvey Barnes is heading to Newcastle as his replacement. What I find interesting about it is I've always thought, for probably even going back beyond last summer, that their need was more on the right-hand side rather than the left-hand side, with or without Saint-Maximin. So I get it, it's a straight swap, but you've got Isak's played out there. Joelinton and Willock have this really lovely dual role that they play on the left-hand side. I think it's probably Anthony Gordon's better side as a wide player. Certainly can play on the right as well and through the middle. They're quite stacked there, but I presume Barnes will go there and he'll be first choice, won't he?
I think so, yeah. Do you think that is an upgrade? Or do you think it's because
Yeah,
they're two
I
different
think
profiles,
so.
right?
Yeah, I think the thing for Saint Maximin is it's an interesting one. He's been the darling for Newcastle fans for a number of years, and I understand why. Because
His
when they,
personality is brilliant as well,
yeah,
isn't it?
when they were proper toilet, he had a really nice relationship with the
Yeah.
fans. He got what it meant to play for Newcastle, and was the one bit of flair that they had, and gave them something worth watching at least. But it's never related to consistent end product. Unfortunately, he does suffer with injuries quite a
Yeah.
bit. He's he's only really I think it's probably only one occasion it feels like he's gone through a season without missing a serious chunk through injuries, which was in the last couple of years. In fairness, I think what they do off the ball now with their intensity,
That's
he's
the
not
biggest thing for me.
necessarily. Yeah, he's not so suited to him. Whereas Barnes, I think, could be trained into that
Yeah,
role
agree.
and do it. And in terms of goals and assist output, Barnes will improve that
Yeah, I
against
think,
Saint Maximin.
yeah, for me, it's more like where Newcastle were and where they're looking to head. I think Saint Maximin for me was like on the eye,
Right.
such a nice player to watch, but I always looked at him as a bit of a luxury player. And it's great for, with respect, when Newcastle were like a mid-table team. I think it's great you've got that fun and stuff, but like where they're looking to aspire to get to now, and I think, I don't know what their hopes and expectations are for this season, but I'd say to solidify their status as a top six, top four team, I think you need to move beyond those luxury players and you actually need effective players. And I think that's where someone like Barnes, I think, has got the raw ingredients to just be such an effective, industrious player for them in output, the off the ball stuff. And yeah, I don't know, someone like St. Maximin, would he really fit into all of that and where Newcastle are heading and the standards required on everything off the ball? I don't think so. So I think it's a great bit of business, and I think Barnes is going to do so well. I rate him so highly. I think more than most do. I think he's got such huge potential.
It's also homegrown as well,
Yeah,
which is important in the longer you're swapping for similar amounts of money. Someone who's got better output in terms of end product and is domestic based. And the more Newcastle progresses as a football club, the more important it will be to remember to stay
yeah,
within your homegrown quota. They obviously will remember, but you're going to start phasing out people like your Longstaffs, etc., in the near
yeah.
future, and you're going to lose that from your homegrown pool. You know.
They are building a bit of a British core, aren't they? With like,
Yeah, and I think that's
yeah.
very,
Do you
very
think that's a conscious
sensible.
thing?
Yes, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised actually. Yeah, I mean the manager is as well. It
yeah,
fits into the narrative that the excellent work they do off the ball and the progressive team that they're becoming on it as well. Yeah, I think it fits. I think it's a nice astute signing. He's a little bit below the top level in the sense that,
yeah.
like, for him to get in the England team at the moment, it's like a mad challenge. You've got Rashford and Grealish in front of you, basically. But I think it's quite an astute signing, actually.
It's one of
Premier
those.
League proven.
Yeah, it's one of those though. If we're looking at the end of next season and we're saying, oh, Barnes hit double figures goals, just shy double figures assists, are you surprised? I'm not.
No,
Yeah,
no.
so
I mean, he's one actually. You'd be quite keen to see that FPL price. I
big
think
time.
that, as we said, their fixtures are tough at the start, but yeah, you'd be quite keen to see what he comes in at. You know, if he suddenly
Yeah,
drops at like 6.5 or something in that Mitoma and Boomo bracket, and you
yeah.
start paying
I'll have a
attention to
look.
that. To be honest, yeah, absolutely. Jurrien Timber, your new signing. So I've been quoting you a lot, Clayton, about be careful. Timber might be inverting from right back rather than Zinchenko from left back.
Yeah,
And I understand in this game last night, which you won 5-0 against an MLS team, must have been some
yeah.
great team that he inverted from right back, exactly what you
Yeah,
suggested may well happen.
yeah. I think that's. I was always quite bullish on. I think he's being signed as like an alternative to Zinchenko, and obviously everyone can see where we lacked depth last season. It was covering the centre back and the right back area, and yeah, I have a theory that in some game states you'll see Timber starting, Timber starting, White, Saliba, Gabriel all shifting over, no Zinchenko, and then some games it will be Zinchenko from the left. But Timber did exactly that. I didn't actually watch the game, I must confess. I'm an early bird, so I struggled to stay awake.
But couple of questions, and don't worry, I'm not going to ask you specifically at the game, but reflecting on conversations we had on Patreon about Arsenal yesterday, and a couple of things we didn't mention. One, do you think that has more of an impact on maybe Kieran Tierney staying?
No, I still don't think Tierney is part of the plans and will be going. I understand why you're asking it, because balance-wise, if you've got someone tucking in, he then holds the width on the other side. But no, I think that's a theory I tried to push myself last season in terms of when
Because
things.
he's played that for Scotland, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. I everything on paper, everything points to Tierney still has a use. But then what you're seeing with the reality is it's so clear where Arteta thinks of him, in my opinion.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think so.
And obviously, having watched my team on Tuesday, obviously Ange is doing it a bit different to most teams, which is the 3-2 lines from the back and then the 5. Ange wants to do it with a 2-3, which means ideally moving both fullbacks into more central midfield areas. Is that something you could try? I think of Gabriel and Saliba as the two behind that, and think like it's got all the recovery attributes and the ability on the ball to potentially do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether we see it, I'm not sure, just because I feel like we would have seen, well, I don't know, there's still more preseason games, so you never know. If we don't see it in preseason, I don't think we'll see it this season, but on paper, I think that's something we absolutely could do. Yeah, I think you're right. Saliba, Gabriel have the attributes to cover wide areas and defending. And then when you're progressing it forward, if you've got like a Timber, Rice, Zinchenko in front of them, absolutely. But my God, he's just everything I'm a patron of an Arsenal podcast, and they do these scouting videos and stuff. And I watched the one on Timber, which was quite long. And his ability on the ball, it's literally Zinchenko from the right. And the way I rate Zinchenko's on the ball ability is very high. So I'm very excited to see what Timber can do for us. I would say from an FPL lens, I don't quite think he's going to go straight in first game against Forest and be a starter necessarily.
Okay.
But like this is right now on whatever the date is today, 20th of July. Things could change depending on, like, Zinchenko is currently injured, so depending how that
He's
goes.
got a head start in that sense, maybe, isn't he?
Yeah, but Kiwior, I think, is kind of going under the radar how he's performing. So I wouldn't be surprised. Like right now, I think the back four for the Community Shield would be White, Saliba, Gabriel, Kiwior.
Okay.
Just because Zinchenko missed last night, he's meant to miss the Man United game. I'm not sure he'll be ready. But this is the great thing for us. It's Arteta has headaches now, and I don't think it's going to be bang, here's the back four. I think we're going to see it vary a fair bit, which is, as a fan, all we wanted.
Aston Villa are very much in the hunt, we think, for a right winger at the moment.
I like their transfers.
And money available, we think, as well, to certainly be doing business. A couple of players been linked, most heavily Diaby of Bayer Leverkusen. There's also been some links to Jeremy Doku as well. Diaby's also had interest almost inevitably from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And I know Tottenham obviously have an interest in Edmund Tapsoba from Bayer Leverkusen. It's obviously Diaby's teammate, and I wonder if what happens there with Diaby might even have a knock-on effect of what happens with Tottenham and their search perhaps for Tapsoba or Mickey van der Ven seems to be the alternative Tottenham are looking at from Wolfsburg. But yeah, targets there on the right-hand side. Do you know much about Diaby, Clayton?
I think so. Yeah, I've seen him a fair bit, and because we were linked with him, I'd say 2 years ago or so. And he's been linked with almost all of the top
teams,
clubs. Yeah, but like not just any teams. He's been linked with the top ones, and I mean his output is consistent. I think he got almost double figures for goals and assists last season. The year before, he definitely got more, because I remember I was having a look last summer. I think it was like 13 and 12 the year before that. But last year, obviously Leverkusen dropped off a tiny bit. But yeah, he looks and sounds like a great talent. I think it'd be a great buy. And
they're actually building a very good team with
very, very, very.
If they kept them all
I thought you were going to say Villa.
Well, Villa as well, but no, Bayer Leverkusen, by the way, the amount of good young talent they've got there under a young manager, obviously, in Xabi Alonso now as well. That's one to keep an eye on. Just something to be conscious of if you're looking at Villa assets as well, that they're definitely looking for some form of offensive addition, we think, primarily in the right wing.
It's interesting because, like, stylistically and profile-wise, obviously you said they're linked with Doku as well, right? And him and Diaby, I think, are both like great dribblers. They take a man on. I think Doku, when I was having a look, he's in like the top percentile for take-ons out of all wingers in that
Okay.
league and stuff. And it's so you can see it's not just random wingers. There's a profile of player they're looking to add, which I always think is quite encouraging from like a strategy point of view in recruitment.
Manchester United have a new signing. Get the poppers out, mate. Johnny Evans is a Manchester United player out of nowhere, and we should say it's a short-term contract, so he could go on tour. And I suspect they probably had to sign him so he could get the visa to go.
Yeah,
That's some of the speculation that's going around at the moment. But could that be a permanent?
if it's what I think it is, which is just help him get fit, be around the dressing room, be a good influence.
But he's played for them.
Yeah, I don't foresee him being used beyond pre-season. Do you?
Tonight might be one of them where if they can't get targets and they do manage to get, say, Maguire out the door and stuff, and they feel like they're short of bodies or something. You got a player there who knows the football club, is very experienced, got great leadership qualities. I think
But is he good now?
He'd go in there and not. He'd be like fourth choice, wouldn't he?
That's what I mean. Like, so if he's being signed with the perspective of we're trying to help him get fit, find another club, keep him around the dressing room for leadership ability, like you say, I think that's a really nice gesture and a nice move. I actually really like that. If it's for, we may get Maguire out of the door, he can be fourth choice. I think that's bad. As an Arsenal fan, I've seen what happens when you just sign backups. And I don't think that's the way to progress your club forward, in my opinion. So
What's Kivior, mate?
No, but he's someone. I think he will be signed. I think he's been signed, and he is there. He's at a level where I believe he'll be competing with Zinchenko, Gabriel. He's not. What I'm saying is, he's not come in and he's just accepted. Oh, I'm going to be fourth choice. That's it. I'm not going to play. He's come in and he's going to try and. He's good enough to challenge for the starting 11. Is Johnny Evans good enough to challenge for the starting 11? No.
I mean, Johnny Evans was a big miss for most of last season for Leicester. Might have helped if he'd been.
I mean, they went
been
down
available.
though. Like Man United are looking to get back up there, right?
There was this video. I don't know if you saw it. What was from Everton training, and someone had spotted it, and it was an amazing spot. You could clearly see someone said in the video, "We've got Johnny Evans coming in."
Oh wow!
Now I don't know who that was, or if it was in relation to Everton, or who maybe it was even someone who worked for Manchester United who was there. I had no idea, right? That would be a bit weird, maybe, but that's another reason why it caught really people by surprise.
Yeah.
So one to keep an eye. More on Everton's are coming a little bit, by the way, because we've got to end with Everton here.
Yeah, in his day, I thought Evans was a fantastic centre back. Like I remember,
Yes.
I wanted him at Arsenal at the time. I just think he's not that same player anymore, in my opinion.
Wolves, moving on, is a club I've said I'm really concerned about. So
Me too.
these players have been leaving. That's worth saying. There's some players getting back to fitness who have missed last year, like Chiquinho. Kalijic is back fit. 5 million in FPL might be worth keeping an eye on rather than your 4.5s possibly if he stays fit during pre-season. But the latest word on the street is that Matt Doherty's going back, which I know Bradley, our Wolves correspondent, is not massively keen on because he knows I've seen Matt Doherty in a back four.
Yeah,
it's not good defensively.
Are they sticking with a back four then?
Playing a back four, we presume. When you consider as well to being seriously linked with Aaron Cresswell,
Yeah,
I'd say probably yes.
That is quite a duo to be linked with for fullbacks.
I mean, it doesn't inspire much, does it? Partly
No.
because their age profiles and stuff, and I realise they'd be very, very cheap deals. But Wolves fans, there's been speculation that they're under FFP restrictions.
Yeah.
But then these signings make you think maybe they are restricted. Mind you, I think those two players have won a decent wage, it's worth saying at the same time. And then to counter that, they keep bidding supposedly for Alex Scott of Bristol City, who's also attracting big interest from Bournemouth, which contradicts the idea that they might be under FFP restrictions. What do you feel like's going on there at the moment? So something's not adding up.
Yeah, when like we were saying, it's clear Villa have a strategy in how they're looking to recruit and stuff. It feels like with Wolves, it just feels very disjointed. That's the only way I can describe it from the outside looking in. And even Doherty and Cresswell, they're two fullbacks you'd say are best in a back five, right? And
Well, Cresswell left-sided centre-back and Doherty as
Exactly.
a right
Yeah.
wing-back. So
Yeah.
maybe they might move that way. But then they're
Yeah.
very short centre-backs now. So
Yeah. I
changing
don't
that
get
would,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. The only way I can answer your question is I don't know. It just feels very disjointed. I can't really put two. I'm putting two and two together, and I'm getting five at the minute with them. But Alex Scott, do you know much about him? I've just did a bit of
Um,
reading, but I can't confess to him.
he's very highly rated.
Yeah.
And I'd said that ask most people in the championship, and they'll tell you he's one of the best talents. I have to say that went down like a lead balloon with most of our patrons who watch
Wow.
the championship,
Really?
who were not convinced about him at all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But he is young,
Yeah.
very young, right? He's been very promising. He's played through England youth levels and stuff. Good goal scoring midfielder, and you can see why people want. Definitely, and I can see why Bristol City want a very good fee for him as well. Some suggestions it will need to go in excess of 20 million
Yeah, that's what I've
to
seen
get
as
hold
well.
of him. But actually, yeah, I haven't done a bit more digging. There's mixed views on him, let's say, rather than a definitive he's going to the very top.
What type of
Um,
midfielder is he, from what people are saying?
I think you're talking box to box, goal
Okay.
scoring midfielder, the sort of profile of player that attracts. Goal scoring midfielders are difficult to find, and he's capable of that. I don't know if he's got enough flexibility about him in terms of deep lying and stuff as a position. I personally have not seen him play, so I'm only
Yeah.
going off the information I've got from other people. But he's not as clear cut as I thought it was. There are some that
No.
think that he might be a bit overrated, actually. So
Interesting. And the reason I asked was obviously my putting two and two together was, oh, is he being earmarked as the Neves replacement? But maybe not.
no, I don't think so. I mean, to be honest, as it stands, I think Lamina and Traore would
Yeah.
probably be the two falls at the moment. Add him in, maybe you're looking at more of a three,
Yeah.
possibly. I think he'd
I
end up at Bournemouth though, by the way. And his profile of players that
Alex
they're
Scott.
very much, yeah, I think he might. His profile of players that they're looking at the moment that are very young, which includes a new signing, Milos Kerkez,
Yeah, their signings are exciting.
Hungarian left back, who he's another one. Did you do the YouTube bit?
Yeah.
He looks quite
looks
exciting,
unreal.
actually. Yeah, he does. It looks like I was going to say Roberto Carlos. It's more like Jordi Alba, actually. I think actually. He's only young. He's like 19,
19.
but I
Yeah.
think he's been bought to come in as the left back. I
There's
think.
I'm very curious to see how Bournemouth get on under this new manager. I
Yeah,
think
they're going to
that
be fun.
I think they're going to be very, very fun. And even this guy, like again, I can't say I knew about him before I saw the signing, but I went and did the YouTube scouting and read a bit about him. He's very highly rated, supposedly, amongst the young talent pool in Europe. AC Milan, Benfica, Lazio were after him. Well, interested anyway. Like that's not bad company to be in. And yeah, I'm very excited to see how he gets on.
Yeah, I did a piece on Patreon on Niraola last week, and I think people are going to really enjoy watching Bournemouth this year.
Yeah.
Actually, pressing off the ball, think like Leeds a little bit. Like it's quite intense. There's a little bit more zonal structure where they move from
Okay.
a kind of zonal, let the centre backs have it, but as soon as it comes out the centre backs, that press gets very intense very quickly. So I think it'll be fun because that can go both ways, right? If you get it
Yeah.
right and you win the ball high, you're gonna damage some teams. Whereas if they play through you and it is better quality here overall across the league, you're potentially in trouble quite quickly. But interestingly as well, his Vallecano team had good results in big games
Okay.
over the last couple of years. 10 points against Barcelona in the last two seasons.
Wow.
And
Okay.
they've beat Real Madrid as well.
One to
So
watch.
yeah, it might be, and that was the case sometimes with Leeds, right? You know, even for the top side, you
Yeah.
play Bielsa's Leeds, you're like, oh my god, anything under
That could be a banana
100%
skin.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely that. So they're worth keeping an eye on. Bournemouth. Burnley have been linked to a move from Nathan Redmond,
Yeah.
who's available. And he's obviously an experienced Premier League player. Was at Southampton, probably would come in as a squad addition. But I suggest the signing that was completed yesterday with Teletubbies unveiling video. The
What
social
did you
media
think of
team,
it?
that's brilliant. Like
I loved it. Yeah.
yeah, the social media team at Burnley do a fantastic job. Zeki Amdouni, I would suggest is probably coming in to be a first choice player. What do you know about him, Clayton?
Not much. I literally looked at his goal record and that was it.
Which isn't bad.
Yeah.
I looked at him and he's, depending on profile, what you look at, he's basically described as a centre forward, and he might
Yeah.
be that. But when you look at clips of him, I tell you what, he's got an eye for a pass.
Okay.
In terms of looks like someone who can assist. So it might be someone that drops off the front and people go
When you
and
have runners.
run beyond quite possibly. Looks decent in the air as well. If you look through kind of a reel of his goals, there's a number of headed goals in there as well. So I think he's one to really, really keep an eye on. Quite be interesting. I want to say he's coming up 5.5 in FPL. I might be
Okay.
misquoted on that, but that's one to watch actually in
Yeah, and
pre-season. Could be interesting.
Burnley are another team. I'm so excited to see them
Yeah.
on the company. Like I watched them a couple of times last season, and they're really fun. I think there'll be a lot of Premier League fans that just don't really watch the Championship that will still think of Burnley in the old way, and they'll rock up and watch them, and they'll be like, "Who the hell is this?" They're gonna surprise a few, I think, this season. What do you actually make of the Redmond transfer, by the way?
I just think that's squad addition. They're a little
Yeah,
bit light in forward areas. Nathan Teller, for example, was really good from last year. He's still at Southampton at the moment. They might make it permanent. So I think they needed offensive bodies in, and that he's an experienced player, right? They're going for
yeah.
a younger profile of player. He's an experienced one.
Do you remember
I don't,
Pep
I
used
don't
to
mind
love
that.
him, didn't he? He used to always grab, well, not always, it happened once, but do you remember after one of the
He had a go
games,
at he had a go at him, didn't he? He was like, "Why are you playing for this defensive shit?" or something like that, wasn't
something
it? It
like
was
that?
like
Yeah.
you can do better. But I just thought it was typical Guardiola kidology where he was trying to tell a player like, if you're playing against my team, don't defend, try and attack so you can leave me
Yeah.
space. That's what I read from it. Sheffield United have a couple of new guys in the door, a couple of young players. Anis Slimani, midfield player, has already got about 40 caps, international level, 22-year-old midfielder. And Benny Traore, 20-year-old forward. They've both come from Scandinavian countries. Traore's like a goal a game record, by the way.
Yeah. He
But
was the top scorer, wasn't
he's only played about 12 or 14 games in the Swedish top flight, I think. So that's quite an early move in his career. What do you know about these two players?
he? Slimani, just the kind of what he's done. I couldn't tell you too much about profile, but just what you said about he's obviously a senior international for Tunisia. He has won the league in Denmark before with Brøndby.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he played a Champions League qualifier or two, and then he's got experience in the Europa League and Conference League. So in terms of his experience, that's all I know. But profile, if I'm being honest, I couldn't really tell you what attributes he's got and stuff. And Traore, same as you, just what you just said, he's very young. Goal record's phenomenal for his age. So,
But it is small sample,
it
it
is a
should
small
be said.
sample, yeah. But yeah, two interesting profiles there.
I think we've known Sheffield United need a forward. Whether Traore is going to go in as first choice, I'm not convinced that yet. Slimani, I think, will go in as a regular starter. Central midfield player does look like he could potentially play more advanced if they end up playing a free. It's probably quite a nice balance there with Slimani and Sanderberger and probably a more deep lying player from there.
Yeah.
Might be quite a nice balance for him. They need to get some bodies in. He's interested in those transfer fees. Look like they're quite small.
Yeah.
I think they've both been bought for sort of under 5 million is what's been reported. And we know there's issues potentially with takeovers obviously not happened. There might not be a lot to spend. It's similar for a fellow promoted team, Luton Town, who obviously no game week 2 fixture because stadium's not going to be ready yet, or they couldn't guarantee it. I think it's probably fairer to say. So He Chung bought from Birmingham, though, who was on the books at Manchester United. What do you know about him?
Yeah, I think probably what everyone else knows. Just obviously used to be Man United on loan in the youth team. Sorry, used to be a winger and looks like he's moved into more of a midfield role now. Again, in terms of what type of profile, if he's an interior or what type of midfielder, I'm not too sure. But played a lot for Birmingham last season, though. I think 41 appearances in total, 4 goals, 5 assists. But all I know though is that. So I grew up in North London and classic, lots of Man United fans in my school. He was never really highly rated in their academy compared to some of the others. So he was never really looked at as one of the stars, but I think he's gone on to have a really respectful career and he's kind of established himself as a first choice midfielder at Birmingham last year, played a lot for them. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what I found as well. I mean, primarily a winger, but there might be some adaptation happening there. He's very left-footed.
Yeah.
Likes to take a man on. He looks quite slight of frame, but can be quite physical as well. He's obviously got this massive hairdo, which people will make him very quickly recognizable as well. Talented player, obviously very young as well, and probably capable of playing a couple of different positions for Luton, which I think will be quite handy for them. Again, small fee reported sort of like 4 million or so. This is essentially where Luton and Sheffield United are probably operating in these sort of markets at the moment. And finally, before we finish off, a story which literally had me roaring with laughter this morning. Arnaut Danjuma is apparently going to Everton on loan. Now, for those who don't know the story, Danjuma did sign for Everton in January on loan, but Danjuma's camp didn't sign the paperwork and Tottenham took him at the last minute. Now, obviously, didn't pull up any trees at Tottenham, primarily because he wasn't given a chance, by the way, but I was never overly impressed. But Everton, despite being scorned, have decided to go back. It feels a little bit like their wife has left them for a better man, but he's dumped her, back, so they've taken her back.
Sloppy seconds.
It feels a little bit like that, and I did have a good giggle at that this morning. I'm not sure he'd be a certain starter for Everton.
No, not me.
By the way, actually, I'm really not.
Did you say has he gone on loan?
Yeah, it's not official yet, but that's what's being reported this morning. 1 year loan originally. Yeah. I'm sure they probably won't let Danjuma's agent leave this time until he signs the paperwork in front of them. I wouldn't say he's a certain starter, though. They need offensive players. I think we know that. But yeah, I wouldn't see him as a guarantee. I mean, consider it's a likable player, works really hard as well.
That's what I was going to ask.
Those positions are very important for Dyche. You think of profile player like if it's going to be, say, McNeil and Iwobi in the wide areas.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure he'll get in ahead of either of them, actually.
No, but that's the one question I was going to ask you is what's his off-the-ball work like, considering Dyche is the manager? So does he work quite hard then?
Yeah. I certainly, I mean, I didn't see a lot of him, to be honest. Yeah. He played like 200, 300 minutes of us. But yeah, work rate not in question. Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure he'll put the work in. This is a player who scored a lot of goals for Villarreal in the Champions League just 2 seasons ago. And was obviously very highly rated at Bournemouth prior as well. Did really well in the Championship, scored a number of goals. So potential's there. I think he was obviously unfortunate, but he never got a run of anything, and it was obvious that he was coming in as a backup primarily. So, but I don't think it's a certainty will go straight into the team. Just sounds like Everton do need bodies.
Yeah, good depth option, right? It'd be interesting to see what the mood is amongst Everton fans, though.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you can imagine if he comes in and he pulls out of a tackle or whatever in game one, it's going to get absolutely slaughtered, isn't he? So, yeah, it's an interesting one. But football fans are fickle, and I'm sure they'll forgive quite quickly if he scores a worldie. That's
exactly. Yeah. If he scores against Liverpool, that's it. Everything.
I remember that when obviously Kane was pushing to go to City, and it was like, "Well, Tottenham fans forgive him," and it's like as soon as he starts scoring goals, it's forgotten. Yeah, absolutely. Clayton, thank you so much for that. Really enjoyed it, mate. On Patreon today, we've got a Money in Football podcast with one of our patrons, Chris Church, on the takeover of Manchester United, which is not happening or is happening. We're not sure, but we discuss the proposed bids of the Qatari state, in quote, and Ineos on the pros and cons, and obviously the relationship between United fans and Glazers. If you want to support Planet FPL on Patreon, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. Just saves me to say thanks very much again to Clayton, and cue music, please, man child.